So let's say now you're excited and you want to start working with Visual Studio 2008 and the .NET Framework 3.5. What do you install? So Visual Studio-wise in this training, we're using the Professional Edition versus the Standard Edition. Both are designed for developers. There are slight differences between the two. For example, the Professional menu options and defaults are a little bit more robust. Professional provides more deployment options beyond click once. The Professional Edition also has support for crystal reports, as well as the ability to conduct remote debugging. If you're using SQL Server 2005, you should look to use Professional, as that supports SQL Server 2005 integration, whereas Standard does not. Professional also comes with SQL Server Developer Edition, while Standard comes with the Express Edition of SQL Server 2005. For the interest of this training, you can use either Visual Studio 2008 Standard or Professional. For those of you using Standard, you may witness some differences in your IDE, but nothing that will hinder you from following along. Besides the system requirements, which we'll cover in a moment, there are also a few setup steps that you'll need to execute in order to follow along with this series. In order to work with the data access components, you should have SQL Server installed, which comes with both Professional and Standard editions of Visual Studio. Be sure to do this with the assistance of your administrator or DBA. We're using SQL Server 2005 Enterprise Edition. Additionally, we've downloaded a few components. In order to have a sample database to work with, please download the Northwind database, which is a free download from MSDN. If you open up a browser application and do a search for Northwind, you'll come directly to the page that says Download Details, Northwind and Pub Sample Database for SQL Server. Just go ahead and download this to a particular file location in your system, and then launch SQL Server and open up the file wherever you downloaded it. Just do File, Open, File, and there where you downloaded the sample databases, you'll see two scripts that start with inst. These are the install scripts for Northwind and Pubs. By opening these up and going ahead and executing them, you'll be able to install the databases, both Northwind and Pubs. We've also downloaded the Ajax Control Toolkit. The Ajax Control Toolkit is a community-driven set of controls and sample applications that enable you to enrich your web-based applications. We'll walk through the details of this installation when we get to the Ajax lesson. If you'd like to take a look at the sample application online, just simply do a search for Ajax Control Toolkit. This will bring you straight to the home page. By clicking on this, it'll take you to the sample page for all the controls that come with the ASP.NET Ajax Control Toolkit. We'll be experimenting with a few of these controls later in this lesson. Aside from these downloads, you should also focus on a series of system requirements that your machine must have in terms of hardware and software. Specifically, what type of machine do you need to have in order to run Visual Studio 2008? At the minimum, your processor should be 1.6 gigahertz with a memory of 384, and your hard disk should operate at 5,400 RPM. Display-wise, 1024 by 768 is a minimum. Recommended, your processor should be 2.2 gigahertz or higher. Your memory, 1024 megabytes or more. Hard disk, 7,200 RPM, and your display should be 1280 by 1024. Visual Studio 2008 supports a variety of operating systems such as Windows XP, Windows Server 2003, and Windows Vista. We also support Windows Server Edition 2008.